This podcast is a part of the Podmania podcasting network. Check out podmania.co.uk to check out more of our great podcasts, features, reviews, match ratings and previews spanning the crazy and diverse world of professional wrestling. Hello guys, and welcome to another episode of the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things World Wonder Ring Stardom. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin, and I'm joined, as ever, by Chris O'Brien. Chris O'Brien, how are you doing?
I'm fine. I got refused the sale of a PG DVD in Asda the other day.
For what reason? Did you need your parent present?
No, I was having a bad day, so I was like, you know what, I'm going to go buy some hot chocolate. It's going to be mega. And then now, my Asda recently got a big renovation, so it's like the size of an actual Asda. And but there's a new DVD bit where we just get DVDs from Music Magpie and sell them for a quid each, so it's worth looking. And I saw Dr. Strangelove, and I was like, oh, a Stanley Kubrick film for £1? Yes, please. Took it to the counter with my hot chocolate and my various amounts of sugar. And the woman at the self-service was like, oh, I think you need to be 16 to buy a PG. And I'm like, no, you don't. And I didn't bring my ID. I just had my phone with Google Pay on it. Because I didn't think I would need my ID. I'm not being funny. I think you need to be 12 to buy a PG without your parents with you. I have a massive beard and I'm 6 foot tall, right? I was wearing a shirt. I was wearing a Progress shirt that said "Sex robots will one day be capable of murder." I don't think I look 12.
So just to top off your absolutely woeful day, you were like, do you know what? I just need that little bit of comfort. Do you know what? Dr. Strangelove is the comfort I need. And then you come up and this woman's like, I think you need to be 16 to buy a PG. No, you don't actually, love. You don't at all.
You know what's even worse? I was in there yesterday, right? And I bought 3 DVDs. I got Dr. Strangelove because I wasn't letting that one fucking go.
Did you go back with your ID?
No, I didn't go back with my... I was just happened to have to go to Asda again. And I was like, right, I'm going to get the DVD now that I'm here. I also got Dread, which is an 18. And I wasn't fucking ID'd.
To be fair, mate, I'm significantly older than you, and you look older than me.
To be fair, we discussed this in the first episode. The glasses I wore when I saw you really add a lot of age to me.
I don't think it's that. I think you just look haggard as fuck.
Haggard?
It's a good word, isn't it?
Well, not when it's used against me. Jesus Christ.
I didn't know if that was an impressed exclamation of, he's used the word haggard in conversation. Or that was a...
No, could you to insult me?
I love the fact then that you got that irate, that you got that high pitch, that you keyed out completely of the recording.
Oh, well, if I'm happy in news, I actually watched Wrestle Princess like I said I would.
Do you want to give me your summarising thoughts?
Okay. Yeah, just a few things I want to talk about. The opening match between 4 rookies, one of which has less than a year experience, was actually properly really good. Better than kids matches in Stardom, which are normally fine anyway. So I was surprised about it. It's a proper 6 out of 10. There was a one-night tournament, which I'm always for, but the person who won it, who's called, what's the name again? Yuki Kamifuku. I'm probably saying that wrong. I'm woefully sorry. Her theme song was Old MacDonald Had a Farm.
Are you actually for real?
Yeah. And I put it in. I forgot what group I put it in. It's not a group you're in. But I was talking about it, and I was like, why does she have Old MacDonald Has a Farm? And someone was like, don't you fucking dare insult her, because I forgot that some Joshi fans get really possessive. And I was like, I'm not. I'm just wondering why the fuck a wrestler, going into battle, thinks, you know what I need? Old MacDonald. But that was things about tournament, both the quarterfinal matches before were really good, but the final match wasn't great. It was only like 8 minutes long and kind of a bit meh. But one of my favorite matches of the night, I was live texting you this as it happened, was Sakazaki versus Hyper Misao. And it was a match where when you press the button, the rules change.
I do remember these texts. Oh, God.
And I remember watching this thinking, I love this. But Rob, some of the rules, no kicking. Put your forehead on a bat and turn 5 times, or else your pins won't count. If you go for a pinfall and it's unsuccessful, you must spin again. False count anywhere, but pins are only counted after you finish eating a bag of chocolate puffs. You can start to see that TJPW is a DDT subsidiary at this point. And then, which is the funniest bit, there was a tag team, a button press, and it became a tag team match, which good for Sakazaki because she has that a tag partner already. But so it was Sakaguchi and Takagi from DDT. And at one point, Takagi shouted when we were fighting with baseball bats, no, stop, help, I have a 10-year-old daughter. And then Sakaguchi shouted, I'm going to kill you and become the president. And stabbed him with a baseball bat. And then the button got pressed. And then, like, the two best matches in the card was, if we're getting back to being serious for a second, was Ajikong and Miyu Yamashita versus Maki Ito and Sari. Really good. Aja Kong breaking the rules, and the ref going, "You're breaking the rules," and she's like, "I know, but he didn't do anything about it because it's Aja fucking Kong." And Maki Ito showing great fire there. First time I saw Sari, I can kind of see why people are hyped on her. And then the main event, which people are saying a match of the year, I don't quite agree. It was Yuka Sakazaki versus Mizuki. Yeah, I don't know. And it was really good. The escalation was great. The problem was they introduced a leg tag thing very early on, and she was selling it really, 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 really well, and then they just dropped it because, they had to go for the 20 minutes finishing stretch or whatever. And, that's a pet peeve of mine. You can just put your finishing stretch around with leg injury. It's not that hard, but it was still great, and I still really enjoyed it. And that's even knowing the results going in. So I would definitely recommend this show if you have time to kill.
Honestly, during your summary of that tag match, I feel like I'm just in a fever dream. Honestly, those words, don't hit me with a bat, I've got a 10-year-old kid, I'm going to fucking kill you and become the president. What? Just what the fuck? I don't think Tokyo Joshi Pro's for me, to be honest.
You could just skip the comedy match.
I might check out the main event. To be fair.
My God, my phone just started talking. Go away. My sort of stance on Tokyo Joshi now is I'll check out the big shows. I'll check out the title matches, but I'm probably not going to drop Stardom to. Well, I can't drop Stardom to watch the podcast to to watch it for. But it's not taking over Stardom anytime soon as my favorite Joshi thing. I think.
No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. I think we should probably talk about some Stardom, seeing as we've got quite a lot to get through today.
Oh man, so we're not going to talk about Jurassic Park.
We're not going to talk about Jurassic Park today. I'm really, really sorry. We've got 2 shows to talk about from the 14th of November and, of course, the Sendai Cinderella Show on the 15th of November. But we'll start with Stardom Korakuen New Landscape, the show from the 14th of November in Korakuen Hall in front of 563 people. Chris, I'm going to preface this by saying pretty much the entirety of this show stunk of, we've got a big show tomorrow, and pretty much every match suffered for it.
Yeah, this was definitely for come back tomorrow for something you'll really like. And thing is, that can work. I remember ICW do that. They hold like a Fight Club taping before the big show, which is Fear and Loathing. But the thing is, the Fight Club thing is basically a party. Like, I went to one, it was called France 99, because they let the coach pick, he's called Coach Trip, and we let him pick the stipulation or the name of the show, and they called it France 99 because apparently that's football related, I don't know. And there was a battle royal where Wee Man got high on coke, and then DCT, who is the international sex hero, won a cup, and just for, that football thing with that happened, and it happened for like 20 minutes, and it was great.
None of that happened in this show.
No, I kind of wish it did. I kind of wish they made like Scottish football references and like through coke, so you can just have the chant "Wee Man's on a come down." It's great.
What we did have instead, though, of that was the debut of Lady C. Sayarida in the opening match defeated her in 7 minutes and 23 seconds with a Boston Crab. Chris, what did you think of Lady C and her debut?
I mean, for a first match, you can't really complain. She didn't put a foot wrong. The story was simple. Sayarida finally got a win, which, cool. It was fine. You can't really say much about her right now because we know literally nothing. But for a first match, yes, good. Nothing. You can't really. I don't really like. There's criticisms that could be had, but it's her first fucking match, so I feel like critiquing this is sort of like telling off a baby for a spelling mistake.
I think the biggest compliment I can give it is you couldn't tell this was her first match. I'm not saying it was the greatest match in the world by any stretch of the imagination. I think, there was a couple of times when she felt nervous. Obviously, it's her first match, but I thought she had a little bit of sass, a little bit of personality, which sort of played into it real. I think Sayarida was brilliant during this, sort of guiding her through the entire match. Speaking of which, Sayarida's wide-eyed sell of Lady C's chokeslam, outstanding. Excellent. Really enjoyed that. But yeah, it was fine. I think another positive we can say is, and I know this sounds like a really odd thing to say, but once wrestlers get to a certain height, you're in danger of looking really ungainly. And I don't think Lady C did that. She didn't look like, Bambi on ice or anything like that. She looked really calm, really good. She sold the Boston Crab really, really well. And then, yeah, she got really, really emotional post-match. I thought it was great. It was there. Lady C looked great. I think she looks like she's going to be aligned with Queen's Quest, though that's not official yet. But yeah, I thought this was really good for what it was, Chris.
Yeah. In terms of the being ungainly, I can kind of see that. Like at the beginning of their run, both Sai Kamitani and Himika looked like their limbs were independent from their body. But they kind of got that in check fairly quickly, and Lady C doesn't have that already. So yeah. As we've sort of seen with Tall Saya this year, people improve. Rookies improve very fast. So I'm looking forward to see what direction she ends up going in.
Yeah, absolutely. I gave it 4 stars. There's nothing inherently bad with it, but of course, it's a debut match, opening a card in 7 minutes. You're not going to get much more than that. Match 2 then saw the Oedo team of Rina and Konami defeat Riho and Hina at 7 minutes and 36 seconds with the modified Northern Lights suplex. We see a little bit of fire here from Hina pre-match, calling Rina that turd with the black lipstick.
It's not quite. When I heard that, all I thought was Becky with the good hair.
Honestly, I've been watching now for nearly a year. It's a year in December, and this is the first time I've seen anything even closely resembling fire from Hina, and it was great. It was good. It was good. Though there was a moment where Konami took over, and it was sort of like watching Scott Steiner destroy jobbers in 1993 on Raw, because she absolutely fucking eviscerated Hina, and I felt so sorry for her. Like, proper absolute destroys her. the sisters have got pretty good chemistry, as you would hope. And then Rina wins with the modified Northern Light suplex, which looked great. She continues to grow into the anti-Hina, which I really enjoyed. I really like bratty Rina.
So anti-Hina sounds like a brand of water.
I'll tell you what, I got a pint of anti-Hina right here.
Can I have some Coke? Is anti-Hina okay?
Yeah. But yeah, I think bratty Rina's great, and I think it's a good inclusion into Oida Tai. Again, what are they even doing with Riho? Seriously?
I think we just want Riho on there because for on some level for foreign fans, it's someone they'll know, because basically in terms of people who've never watched Stardom before, the only people you're going to know Riho, B, and then maybe Mayu if you watch Ring of Honor. But that's about it.
Well,
so
yeah.
And you do kind of want that. You want people that people recognize because it's sort of your anchor. It's the sort of I'm not sure what's going on here, but this guy's on now, so I'm sort of relieved. But also, yeah, it's super weird that they have Riho, who was on international TV just earlier in the year before she was stuck in Japan, and sort of doing DDT's given Riho more opportunities than Stardom has. But on the other hand, I'm not massive on Riho in Stardom, so I'm not complaining. But it is baffling having someone she's objectively on an international level the most known person on this roster.
I think once or while everyone assumed it was just because AEW was saying, look, you can use her, but don't put her in anything big because obviously, we want her. But then pictures were bandied about on Twitter about how she'd got her own Stardom jacket now. So there were rumours going around that Riho has potentially signed a contract with Stardom. If that's the case, where do you put Riho? What do you see her doing? I mean, she can't just, forever be in the high-speed division. You've just said, people know her from AEW. So you can't just put her in the high-speed division with Go-Kick and Death. So, if it's the case that she has signed this contract with Stardom, which again, as of the time of recording, hasn't been confirmed, but it's sort of being bandied about, shall we say, I think you've got to start doing stuff with her. Putting her in throwaway tags with whoever needs another member on that night isn't exactly the greatest utilisation of her. But anyway, this match was there. I enjoyed bits of it. I gave it 5. There was nothing bad, and I thought Konami absolutely destroying Hina was very, very entertaining.
Yeah, 5. I didn't feel the need to take many notes on this one.
No,
there was almost nothing. Just everyone sort of did their regular thing. I thought Konami was misplaced, but I'll get into that when we get into the 6-man match later in the night.
Yeah, absolutely. Match 3 then. This was fucking weird.
Right, can I read you my notes for this one verbatim?
In a minute, yeah. So this was the 2-on-1 handicap match. Himika defeating Ruaka and Hanan at 4 minutes and 26 seconds with the double Argentine backbreaker. Chris, your notes, please.
Okay, my notes verbatim. Meat on the table. Yeah, that's what you are. Yeah, you can run, but you won't get too far. You're in my jungle, and I'll make the kill. Meat on the table, and I'll get my fill. Bow, 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 bow.
You're really, really proud of yourself, aren't you?
Yeah, because I just saw this on Stardom mode, and I was like, that's a Ryback squash match, and it even ended like a Ryback squash match with 2 people in a fucking torture rack position.
I know.
It's literally a Ryback squash match.
What the fuck even was this?
Ryback's just there going, oh, I need my 10%. Because it's literally just a Ryback squash match. There's nothing to say about it.
It's just, I mean, does Stardom even do handicap matches? I don't think I've ever seen one. And honestly, Hanan and Ruaka? Really?
It's just, we have nothing to do. You know what it's like? Have you ever played Fire Pro Promoter Mode?
Yes.
It's really annoying that because you can't do triple threats or 4-ways. So if you have an odd number, you either need to leave them off the card or do 2-on-1. So what I used to do, I had a bear. like a bear, and I would put 2-1 against him. If they can beat the bear, they get a contract. Simple. But
reasonable.
no one ever beat the bear. The bear. It was quite bad at one point. The bear became champion, but then was having bad matches. But I couldn't get the belt off him. But the fans loved him. But because he was having bad matches, I couldn't get new fans. It was an awful fucking endless loop. Just don't, like, pro tip: don't sign a bear. But yeah, the reason I'm joking so much is because it's just because of this match, the Ryback theme song has been stuck in my head for 2 fucking days.
I don't understand the necessity of this match. I mean, Natsupoi wasn't even on this card. I mean, just put Himiko with Natsupoi and just make it a tag match. Making it a 2-on-1 handicap match, it added nothing. No one was any more over for this match. I mean, did you come out of this and thinking, oh, Himiko's such a badass, or more so than you'd thought already? It was such a weird card, and it was such a weird match to put together, and for it only to go 4 minutes. I mean, obviously you want Himiko to destroy them, but like, Hanan and Ruaka got moves in. There was like a double underhook fisherman suplex that admittedly looked pretty good, but
that's quite cool. Yeah, they should use that more often.
They should, but I'm at a loss as to why this needed to be on this card, on a Korakuen show as well, which are, you know, the meat and drink now to Stardom. You look for big cards, and yes, I know they got Sendai Cinderella the next day, but fucking hell, is this the best they could do with Himiko? Really? I gave it a 3, mate. I'm not gonna lie.
I forgot to put score next to it in my notes. It's a Ryback out of 10.
Ryback out of 10. Match 4. This is where we actually finally start to get some stuff that's worth talking about. Where Tam, Mina, and the Double Z, the aforementioned, the as of yet unnamed Double Z, defeated Mayu, Starlight Kid, and Gokikin Death at 12 minutes and 32 seconds with the Tiger Suplex. Tan introduces Double Z, who turns out to be Tokyo Joshi Pro's Himawari Unagi, who's rechristened under her real name, Unagi Sayaka. Passive-aggressive Mayu is angry, Chris. So angry.
Because I feel now this is going to be more relevant than ever, I have to ask, would the second Star Wars match be called The Empire Strikes Back?
Honestly, I don't, like I've said on the Discord, I don't think I've ever been more happy in a moment in podcasting than doing that joke. And I don't think I'll ever top it, so I'm never going to try again. I'm never going to crack another joke on this podcast, ever.
I mean, I'm quite happy with Empire Strikes Back, but okay.
This entire thing, I mean, Unagi has a relatively short amount of ring experience. She debuted on the 4th of January 2009. She's similar to Mina in age at 31, which can only mean that Tam has got a type.
She's just sort of like, right, I need them to have worked for TJPW,
yep,
be around Rob's age.
Yep.
She specifically thought that.
Yep.
And be taller than me, which to be fair in Tam's case isn't hard.
It's not hard, no.
But she's quite tall, isn't she, Nagi? How tall is she?
She looks pretty tall.
5'6". She's 5'6", so she's taller than Garth. That wasn't necessary. Yeah, I know next to nothing about her, so I couldn't. But yeah, she looked fine. Like, I'm more positive coming out of the 2 matches she's had in Stardom so far than I was about Shiikawa, so that can only be a good thing. Just for do you not agree?
I'll talk about it more on the next night.
I
think here the main story obviously is, and you know, it was what we talked about on the previous podcast, that Mayu is getting extremely pissed off with Tam constantly bringing in these people with apparently not talking to Mayu first. There's lots of dead eyes. Mayu constantly staring out Tam, looking eyes with her during pinfalls, being in a mode where she is a dick during offense, which is probably my favourite Mayu.
there was a point in this match where we did the fucking Julia time thing where we were pulling each other's hair back for forearms. And I was like, damn, things have gotten really heated really, really fucking fast.
But even Starlight Kid was throwing bigger bombs than she normally would. She had an exchange with Unagi where she was throwing forearms like I've never seen her do before. So it's obviously permeating into other members of the group. And if this is going to lead to some sort of... I'm not going to say it again. Imagine. If this is going to break down into... some sort of, I'm not going to make the joke again, the Stars civil war, if that's going to break down into that. I think it's good to establish those sides, and Starlight is quite obviously on Team Mayu, especially after this match, in case we didn't know anyway. I enjoyed the cold handshake at the start, the fact that there was still, the handshake, but it was fucking... Mayu was livid here. And the fact that Tam's team won, or Cosmic Angels, as they are now going to be referred to. The fact that they won, and then post-match there was still that stare out. It was great. It was really, really good. I did enjoy it. I enjoyed this match far more than I thought it was going to be. I am going to ask, though, Chris, obviously, at the moment, Cosmic Angels are a subset of Stars, pretty much like the Elite and Bullet Club. Is the best parallel I can draw. My question to you is it Cosmic Angels' MO to trip acid before they give their fucking promos? What the fuck were they talking about in that post-match? We're going to be in space and I'm going to be your cabin girl. I am so confused.
To be completely fair, I wasn't all that lost because I've been watching a lot of Lucha Underground recently, and there's an Aerostar in Lucha Underground is literally a spaceship. So, he is a spaceship. So I was just sort of like, they must be hanging out with Aerostar. Do you think Gogan Death has any idea what's going on around her?
Not even slightly.
Or do you think it's like when a baby's parents get divorced?
It is hard to have a serious storyline with someone dressed in, and let's be honest, the cheapest clown outfit you can possibly buy.
Walking into your local, what's the makeup shop? Sephora? Walking into Sephora and going, I'll have the Mr. Tumble, please.
Where do you think this is going? This entire thing, because from the end of this match, Tam and Mayu staring each other out, Tam in the ring, Mayu on the outside. This clearly isn't over. Now, Niagara Driver on the Discords, they offer two certain possibilities. You've got one where Stars split and you've got two quite thin rosters, or they stay together and this goes nowhere. So what would you prefer to see? Would you just prefer that unrest until we get an inevitable Tam-Mayu match, or do you want to see Stars split? Because ultimately you've now got these 6 women who are in ring, Hanan and Ruaka. That they are going to be relatively small factions. So what would you like to see? What would you like to come out of this best case scenario?
Well, best case scenario, it has several installments and then ends with Rise of Shiikawa. But
I'm not gonna. I refuse to acknowledge it.
The Death Awakens.
God.
Revenge of the Death.
Go on. How do you think this is going to end?
The Utami Menace. Okay, I'll stop now. So I think this is going to end with them seceding just before a draft, because I think there's so many weird things going on in Stardom factions right now that a draft is kind of necessary. Yeah,
obviously we haven't had one yet this year.
Yeah, we didn't have. We skipped it this year mostly because I'm not sure if we would have had one, but I don't know. I think this might come to a head. There'll be a faction war, and then post-faction war, we'll have a draft just to sort of reset everything, and we'll have a mini like we'll have too many factions until one gets knocked out in the draft, and then we'll just all have been sorted out again. Because we've also lost the faction this year, to be fair. So there's been a fair few people floating around factionless. So yeah, like ultimately, I'd quite like it to end in the draft because I do like the drafts, especially since in the last one, Tam was bitchy because Arisa got picked before her.
I think that would be good. I think a shake-up of the roster can't be a bad thing. I mean, one faction that I think would benefit massively from it, I love the chemistry that Donna Del Mondo have got. I really do. I think they're probably the best faction in Stardom. The problem is you have got 3 legitimate single stars there. You've got Julia and Syuri, who could both quite easily hold the red belt. You've got Himika, who is going to be there in, 18 months? So at the moment, you have a faction of 5 women where 3 of them are established singles stars. You are at some point going to have to break them off from one another, because if one of them gets the red belt, then you are unlikely to see them challenge. I mean, I know Himika challenged Julia for the white belt, but for the red belt, I don't know. It just seems that you would need to keep them separate. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know from Stars challenged May this year for the red belt. No, which is weird because didn't Tam beat May in the 5-star? I can't remember.
Yes, she did on the last night.
Yeah, so that would have been a challenge right there. So,
well, that was what we talked about at the end of the last podcast, wasn't it? When we were talking about potential challenges, Tam could have, if May was retained against Utami, spoilers, then Tam had a legitimate claim to it along with Julia.
Mm-hmm. So.
Anyway,
yeah.
What did you give this?
I gave it a high 7. I thought it was really fun. One thing we didn't talk about, which was a bit scary, is the handspring crossbody, where we didn't give Tam quite enough height.
No, I do agree with that. And there's another moment late on the second night, which is very similar, where they don't quite get enough height. There's quite a few, actually, moments in Sendai Cinderella that are quite scary. Artist of Stardom Championship match with Oida Tai, the team of Natsuko Tora, Saki Kashima, and B. Priestley, defeating Donna Del Mondo, the champions, Julia, Syuri, and Micah at 18 minutes and 27 seconds, with B getting the pinfall after a Queen's Landing. This was the first match, Chris, where the whole, we've got a big show tomorrow night. This is the first match where it became really, really apparent, because Julia was a complete non-entity in this match.
Mm-hmm. Which is because the reason she was a non-entity mostly was because B and Shiri were setting up seeds for their match for the next night. But you're clearly using this to hype up Sendai, so why not put Tora or Saki with Rina earlier in the night and have Konami in this match? Yeah, you're completely right. You had the chat. I mean, don't get me wrong. Saki did really well in this match. The time she was in, but like I say, the majority of this match was B and Syuri because they're the two that had the beef the following night. I mean, I thought it was bizarre that Syuri was the one that took the pin, especially when Micah's in this match. It's not like you need to keep Micah strong for the Future of Stardom Championship match. But yeah, why not have Konami in this? Do you need Saki in this match? No, especially if that way, then you can set up Konami, Julia, and Syuri versus B. It makes perfect sense. It's just one change. Saki and Rina versus Hina and Rio. Yeah, I completely agree with you. I thought B grew into it after having an ass handed to her in the opening exchanges, which I quite liked. Thought that was good. Micah only really comes in for brief bursts of power, but her sort of stuff with Tora was really quite enjoyable. Shenanigans didn't bother me too much. Again, in this match, it actually led to a finish. Using the chain to stop people getting into the ring to break up pinfalls is exactly how a chain should be used. So Tora is stopping Julia to getting in to break up a pinfall by literally lassoing her with the chain. That's exactly how it should be used. And if we continue to use it like that and not use it in the ridiculously lame and trotted out ways we've continued to use it, I'll be happy, Chris. I don't want much in life. That's all I want. What do you think Natsuko Tora's favourite Fleetwood Mac song is?
Go your own way.
Oh yeah, that's an absolute bop. I was going to say she seems more like a Peter Green era type person.
Yeah, those LSD blues sort of. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah, I can see her thinking Rumors is a bit poppy. But openly looking, it's like, she's just massive into the Pixies. Anyway, that was weird. Yeah, I do agree that's how the chain should be used. I still think it should be something different from a chain because you can hear it.
It's so loud. It is so loud.
I watched the Cody versus Brody Lee match for the first time last week, and just the amount of times the chain's been used in Stardom has just ruined any chance that match had with me.
Mm.
But yeah, the actual match itself, most people are non-entities here. Actually, Micah was fine, but again, Julia was a non-entity. This is mostly just setting up Shuri and B, everyone else, to sort of just faded into the background for the most part.
Completely agree. I mean, I do agree with the title change. I think it keeps Oedo Tai relevant and it does make sense. But, we have seen iterations of this match before, so, I found it hard to get excited about it. We keep B strong. Shuri did look like a badass, considering she was the one that took the pinfall, and it did take a chair shot to the head and a Queen's Landing to keep her down, so ultimately it didn't keep her weak that much. All right, good.
Yeah, especially considering what happened the next night.
Jesus Christ.
And then B cut one of her promos. Apparently, Julia sucks, Micah sucks, Shuri sucks, and we all need a reminding, apparently, Momo sucks.
Yeah, there is either going to have to be some sort of payoff to this where Momo kicks the fucking head off B Priestley, or she's going to have to stop this, because honestly, I don't care about it anymore. It's not funny. It's just it doesn't. Just stop it, because it's getting boring and repetitive now.
Priestley strikes me as that person who listened to March of the Black Parade once in school and then decided, I don't care what everyone thinks about me, but they actually really do.
Yeah, I've got nothing else to say about it. And then there is sort of a payoff on the next night, but yeah, just the same thing over and over again every time Oedo Tai win a match, every time they won a match in Tag League, every time they win an undercard tag match, it's the same thing. So there's no variation of it either. It's the same thing. If there was a variance of it, I wouldn't mind as much, but just shut the fuck up. I found it really hard to get into this match, Chris, and I don't know what it was. I don't know whether it's because I could tell that they were only working half speed because people had got matches the next day, or if I don't know, I wasn't feeling it, but I only gave it a 6.
I get a 6 as well. It was fine. Oedo Tai and DDM never seemed to mix all that well together.
No.
I think it's because we kind of have conflict, because at that point it's basically I don't care heels versus I don't care heels, and it's like, well, Chris doesn't care either.
Let's move on then to the main event, which was match 6, Goddesses of Stardom title match, with the champions Aphrodite defeating and retaining their championships over Momo AZ at 23 minutes and 6 seconds with the German suplex. Now, I've seen, and I spoke to you about this before we came on air, Chris, I've seen people slag this off and give it a 5 on Cage Match, and I honestly have to ask, are they watching the same fucking match? I mean, I'm never not going to be here for these 4 in the ring together. And it was another really good match. I mean, for me, it's not quite Stardom is Again levels, but it's certainly a really, really good chapter in the Queen's Quest versus Queen's Quest anthology. I thought this was a really good match.
Yeah. Bombs were thrown, which, is an easy way to my heart. And yeah, it was, again, what sort of struck me with Stardom is Again of how good that was it was a surprise. You didn't see it being as good as it was. You thought it was just going to be a bit of a nothing tag match to get everyone into it, and then we came out all guns blazing. And then neither of the matches sort of lived up to that so far, including this one. But this one was still really good. Azumi's getting so much better. Her timing is fucking impeccable.
Completely agree.
Incredible. That Hurricane Rana on the from through the ropes into the ring. Again, I don't think Utami was working as hard in this one as she was in the other ones, but like she did have a title match for the next day, so that sort of makes sense. This was another good one, but like again, everyone in this ring is really good, so it's always going to be like a baseline 6 to 7 out of 10. You're never really going to get a bad match with this, but like they went above and beyond here, so yeah, I do agree. It's not like the 5 out of 10 match. Like for me, like a 5 out of 10 match is what we got earlier in the night, and like the tag matches, they're like bang average, but this was far above average. I enjoyed it.
Well, what I've done is I've sort of noted some of the criticisms, and I've sort of had my own opinion. So one of the big criticisms was that the Azumi versus Utami closing stretch was a bit lame, and I thought that was nonsense. I thought having Utami locked in the armbar and then Azumi using her own legs to trap Utami's as she goes for the ropes was fantastic. I thought the two had tremendous chemistry. And I do agree with you. I don't think Utami quite put the amount of effort that she put into the previous 2 matches. But it wasn't massively noticeable. She wasn't a non-entity like Julia in the previous match. She still went. She still took some really, really stiff... I mean, that Hurricane Rana, she sold like fucking death. It was great. It was really, really good. And
hang on, so when she went to the ground, she went dead.
I enjoyed the storyline as well between Momo and Saya, because they reverted back to Momo sort of going on to the "you aren't on my level" sort of thing with Saya. And there was a quiet determination on Saya, especially was in that sleeper hold. She just had that determination in her face not to tap out. I'm not going to submit. And I thought that was a really understatable, really cool plot point, especially going back to the Stardom is Again match, the initial match in this trilogy, where we talked about how Momo wanted to raise Saya to her level, to be a part of Queen's Quest. Now that she is a part of Queen's Quest, she is a champion. It's more a case of you are not on my level. And I thought that was a really nice thing to add into this. I will say,
yeah,
and this seems to be the main criticism about this match, it did go too long.
Yeah, 23 minutes was a bit on the long side.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And I was sort of mentally done with this around the 15, 16-minute mark. And I guess I get why we did it, because we went to a 20-minute draw in Stardom Again, so like somewhat naturally to get a win outside of a tag league where you're going to naturally rest the difference because of the restrictions put upon you with a time limit. So it makes sense. I just don't want a match that long though for the tag belts. Like 15 minutes is plenty.
I've said if we trimmed 4 minutes off this match, 5 minutes off this match, we'd easily be looking at a 9. A really, really, really good match.
Yeah, we'd be looking at like a high 8, low 9. Yeah. As it is, it's like high 7, low 8.
Do you think there was some pressure on these two teams? I mean, you look up and down this card, and this is, without a doubt, one of the weakest Korakuen shows they've put out. I mean, you look at this, we've got no singles matches. One singles match, I apologise, but it was a debut of a rookie, and it opened the show. There's no real drawing match. No offence to Oida Tai, and I know Oida Tai have really big fans dating back to, before Kagetsu's era. I mean, the Kagetsu, you know what I mean, before Kagetsu left is what I meant. But no one's coming to Korakuen to see Oida Tai versus Donna Del Mondo for the 40th time.
I'd be going to see, Ryback do his thing.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you've got a decent singles wrestler in Himika, and she's wasted in a complete ridiculous match. You've the only other match that I can honestly say with any sort of justification that's worth watching is the Stars versus Stars match, and that's not because the match was anything tremendous, but because of the furthering of the storyline between Tam and Mayu. Do you think that the two Queen's Quest teams felt that pressure then to go that long because, or do you think, the people who book it, should I say, felt pressure to go that long because there wasn't a lot else on this Korakuen card?
Maybe. It's weird because, nothing needed more time. So, I think that might be it, but at the same time, Korakuen shows, and I've said this in the last few podcasts, Korakuen shows aren't Korakuen shows anymore, just because of what places can hold. So it does kind of make sense that they're not, that they feel more like the filler shows we'd normally be seeing in like Osaka or Shinkiba, because that's, in terms of where the money is, that's basically where we are now. So I'm trying to get out of the sentimentality of the Korakuen shows and the pay-per-views, because as it stands, they're B shows as it stands, and I'm not massive with that because I do love Korakuen. I love how Korakuen looks. I love it as a setting for classic matches, but that's just not what it's going to be for the next wee while until full attendance can happen again, I think.
Which is absolutely fine, and I completely agree. But it wasn't a great card for anywhere.
No. Like, yeah, but like even on like just the story progression level, when you look at the stories progressed here, like even there was a match going in with Julia and Konami the next night, and I desperately needed some more story. So throwing Konami in that might have fixed this night a lot for me, because the only real stories furthered are Himika is now Ryback. The Star Wars are going on because Tam wants to go solo. Oeditai are still bastards. B still really doesn't like Momo, and the Queen's Quest Civil War sort of reached its climax. So, but there's a fair bit of story here. But like in terms of like the main events for the upcoming shows, it didn't really progress that very much.
No. Let's move on then, Chris. Let's move on to... In fact, no, just before we do that, what did you give the tag match?
High 7, low 8.
That's exactly what I've put in my notes. So we're pretty much...
Oh, babe.
Oh, babe. Let's move on then to the 15th of November, the Sendai Cinderella Show from the Sendai Sun Plaza in front of 508 people. First thing I'm going to point out, and we've already had this discussion very, very briefly before we came on air, Chris. 508 people. We've talked before, and in the COVID era, it's not a great barometer for crowd attendance, because obviously you're having to limit numbers. However, you look at Korakuen Hall, which for all intents and purposes is a smaller venue. Korakuen Hall, they drew 568 with the shit card we've just talked about. Here they only drew 508. If I can just quickly go back in history a little bit, in Sendai in general, Stardom have never really drawn well, and they've never really been there. I mean, this year they've held the Sendai Cinderella Show, which we're obviously going to be talking about. They held the 5-Star Grand Prix Night 4 earlier this year there. In 2019, they ran one show in Sendai. Again, Stardom Grand Prix. In 2018, they ran one show. In 2017, they ran one show, which means that in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, in 4 years, they've only ran 4 shows in Sendai before this show. And I understand the positivity going forward. You know, we want to do bigger venues, and that's applaudable, and it is something that I am all on board for. You heard the excitement as we heard that they were going to try Nippon Budokan, which is just an absolutely amazing thing, and I'm still buzzing about that. And people will say, yes, but it's COVID. Okay, well, as a comparison, and I know that New Japan are a far bigger entity than Stardom, I am perfectly aware of that. But on the 9th of September, New Japan ran a New Japan Road show, okay, which are never the blow-away cards that you want. You know, they are not even B show, they're C show cards, okay? And they drew 914 people. Over 400 more than this show. And you look at this card, you look at the Stardom Sendai Cinderella card, they put everything they could onto this card. You've got Utami versus Mayu on top, and you've got Julia and Konami semi-maining. And they drew 508 people. And I know, yes, okay, COVID, but 700 people. You know, just under 700 people. You wouldn't necessarily consider that a bad draw in the current climate. I think 900 may have been overreaching slightly, but just over 500 people, less than Korakuen, in a territory where they don't run shows. I don't know. Was this a success for you, Chris, attendance-wise?
I don't know what they were expecting, so I really couldn't comment on that.
For you personally, do you think this was good or bad? I mean, the shows they've run in Sendai before, they've run at Sendai Pit, which is, I think, 300 and something. So the maximum they've drawn over those 4 years was 300 and something people, and they've drawn 150 on the other days. So why did they think that we want to run a big show, we're going to run it in a place where we have notoriously never drawn above 300 people?
Maybe that's all they could get. Like, just speaking to someone who's booked venues before, sometimes your venue just doesn't want to give it to you on that particular day. So it might just be that. What day was the show? On the 15th? Is that that's a Sunday, isn't it? Yeah, so we don't even have that going. Yeah, I literally just don't think Sendai is a market for them in that case. I don't know. Maybe it's just because we don't go there often, and Sendai already have like a regular Joshi league, don't they? They have best Sendai girls. So maybe it's just that. Maybe it's just most people are very loyal to Sendai girls or something. I literally could not comment. This is the first thing that comes to my head. I don't think that's a bad draw. Like, literally, if this was them running a fairly big show in, like, say, if they said, oh, they drew 500 for a big show in Nagoya, we wouldn't bat an eyelid. So I don't think that it's as bad as we're making out.
I do agree to a certain extent, and I know that we're drawing parallels between Korakuen and Sendai Sun Plaza, and Korakuen is, you know, Stardom's hunting ground. They've sold out Korakuen before. I just don't think that 508 people in this venue, and 508 of the fucking quietest people you could ever wish to draw on a wrestling show, which we will fucking get into in a minute. I don't see how that's a success in the venue you are looking to run. And I think Stardom would have been looking for more people. They would have been looking for a higher attendance than 508 people.
Maybe. At the worst, is this a lesson to not run streets so high in Sendai, or at least throw a lot more at Sendai. So,
like I say, the only times they've run Sendai are in the last 2 years on the 5-star. So maybe do another couple of shows at the pit each year and sort of build a market there before you go gung-ho and try and book a bigger venue.
Yeah. Basically just that.
Anyway, let's look at the card then. So match 1, Future of Stardom Championship. Maika defeated Saya Iida at 8 minutes and 9 seconds with the Enka Atoshi. Nothing against Saya Iida at all. I love Saya in ring, but Maika feels like a damn star when she comes out, and she is a real cut above in the way she's packaged, from the way she's carrying herself, to the robe, to the banging entrance theme, which genuinely might be my favourite in Stardom, and the way she struts to the ring. She feels like a star.
Yeah, and especially compared to Saya, who kind of just carries herself like a young lion, Maika carries herself not befitting someone of her experience, because she's only been around for like a year, hasn't she? So yeah, I do agree. She's got the swagger down at the very least. All she needs to do now is like watch some tapes of Conor McGregor and start smack talking. Just someone tries to slag her off, and she's just like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" It's just, yeah.
Do you think she's got what it takes to be like a top person in Stardom? I know it's early days yet, but from what you've seen, do you think she's got something?
if I'm power ranking the rookies, it's sort of Saya, her, and then small Saya. So I just realized there's two Sayas when I was power ranking. But yeah, she definitely has tons of potential. She still has some stuff to work out. Like, her power game isn't perfect yet. It was better in this match. For that finisher she's been using looks a lot better here than it has.
Absolutely.
But so again, she's a rookie. She's got shit to iron out. But in terms of like placement, yeah, I can definitely see her go, but at least being a contender within the next few while, because she does get better, and especially in terms of how she carried herself, because she's kind of just a stoic nothing at the beginning, a bit like Julia, and now she's showing a bit more personality. So yeah, definitely she has potential. Just potential sometimes goes away, so sort of just watch this pass.
This is a horse match, which is great. I love the fact that we see a different side of Saya, who actually dominates this match, which is bizarre. I didn't think that would be the way this match went down. She's playing to the non-existent crowd, chopping Micah. She's got that resilience, that never say quit attitude, especially after she gets up after that first fucking clothesline. It was like a thunderous clothesline. She just gets back up, sort of yells in Micah's face, and then Micah puts her down with the Enka Itoshi. But I think she did herself a lot of favours in this match. It was the most fiery I've seen Saya Iida. It is the most, comparative to what you said, it's the least like a young lion she's looked. Like, she looked like she was a legitimate contender in this match, not just a token defence, which is what we both said she was at the end of the last podcast when we looked ahead to this show.
Yeah, she looked much better here than I expected. Like, it's nothing blow away, but it's a perfect opener in that sense, because you don't want your opener to steal your show. We've actually been at shows. We went at UK Takeover when the opener's so good that it kind of kills the next match.
Yeah.
It didn't kill it there, but like that can happen. Like, the next few matches after the high speed match at Yokohama, we just didn't care. I didn't care about Shikawa's debut. I didn't care about Natsupoi's debut because we had just had like a great match before that. So this is like perfectly what you want for an opener.
Yeah. And I must admit, I think I did enjoy it more than you. I thought it was far better than I thought it was going to be. I don't think it quite lives up to Micah versus Saya Kamatani from Korakuen a couple of weeks ago, but it was still a very good match. I'd give it a high 6, low 7.
Yeah, I'm feeling like a 6 on this one. It was a good match.
Moving on then, match 2, a 5-way with Starlight Kid defeating Hina, Saya Kamatani, Riho, and Hanan with a moonsault press at 7 minutes and 6 seconds. Riho put in yet another prevalent high spot on the card. This match was all the tropes I hate crammed into a 7-minute match.
Yeah, I was watching this thinking Rob's gonna fucking hate this, and then I'm gonna just, because I enjoyed it. Like the sort of PWG thing at the beginning where everyone's arm is twisted. I liked it. I can hear you seething on the other side of the country. But I thought it was fun. The moonsault from Starlight was beautiful. Some nice exchanges between Starlight and Saya, which is a combination of which we got more of. But yeah, apart from that, it was fine for its placement on the card. It was exactly what it had to be.
We had a circle of wrist locks, a 5-person suplex that then randomly included the referee. We had the human caterpillar of head scissors that then had Saya Kamatani doing the Boston Crab on the one on the end, and everyone selling their back, which, why? I enjoyed nothing about this match aside from Starlight Kid's moonsault, which quite a few people on Twitter were comparing it to an Io Shirai moonsault. I don't think it's quite there yet, but it's certainly got the makings to be as nice as Io Shirai's.
It's got a different form. Like, they both fall differently. I don't think they're comparable. They're both nice moonsaults, but they're not like comparable moonsaults. In that sense, it's sort of like people who compare like Io Shirai's moonsault to say Kurt Angle's, because Kurt Angle also had a great moonsault.
Yeah,
but they're very, very different moonsaults at the same time. So Yeah, it was still really good though, especially since I don't remember her pulling it out from the top rope before. So
it's here when you notice that the crowd in Sendai are shit, like quiet as fuck.
Yeah, like is it that hard to clap?
I'm gonna say this now. There are two matches which I loved that I think really, really suffered because the crowd could not be asked to get off their hands. The Stardom wrestlers, the people at ringside, the people in the ring, had to work so fucking hard to get these twats off their fucking hands. There was moments where you just clap. Like at the start of the match, the main event, as the bell rang, you clap because it's the start of the main event. Nothing. Absolute silence, crickets. To the point where you can hear the referee, you can hear the springs on the fucking ropes. That is how quiet that arena was. And
yeah, and what you still have to understand partly with us is that we're mostly used in terms of live crowds. Well, obviously that's what we're completely used to is when we're in attendance is British crowds who are very loud, and it's almost like it almost felt like an empty arena at points. Like I swear to God, it was louder in Vegeta versus Goji Izaki, and that was half an hour of two old men staring at each other. And yeah, it was weird because even my local fed, which is like a family-friendly one, so there's not a ton of chanting because most chants in Scotland use the word fuck or cunt or something, and like that gets louder. So I don't know. I really don't know why they weren't making crowd. But one thing I can think of was if it's a half-empty arena, you're gonna feel more self-conscious about making noise. But at the same time, just all arenas in the current climate are half empty, and like Yokohama was loud. Like I watched the Noah show from Yokohama last night, and that was super fucking loud. Yeah. So yeah, it's annoying, and we're gonna try not to harp on it. But at the end of the day, imagine if Walter versus Bate from Takeover didn't have that crowd.
Well, I'm only going to mention it in one more match, but you compare this, you put this show in front of the Yokohama Cinderella crowd, who were red hot for absolutely everything that they had on this show. And
yeah,
three or four of these matches are completely different matches.
Mm-hmm. Like, on points on the Yokohama show, I completely forgot that it was a COVID crowd.
Exactly.
Like, because the claps kind of just overtook the chants.
Yeah, the crowd, I don't want to say they ruined it for me because that's very melodramatic, but they ruined a lot. They spoiled quite a few of the matches.
You know what this reminds me of? Weirdly, was with crowds ruining things. I was at Transmit watching the Arts of Monkeys years ago. And I later went on YouTube to like watch it back because I was like, that crowd is loud, and like it literally you can hear the crowd over Alex Turner's vocals. It's great. But there's one guy in the comments going, "Why are the crowd being so loud? I want to hear the actual riffs." And it's like, well, why don't you listen to the recorded version, man? You can't.
I was really melodramatic with this rating. I gave it 3.
I like this match. I like that stupid shit. Like. It's weird because, like, out of both of us, I'm the one who likes shoot fighting, but watches MMA and shit. But also, I love stupid shit like this. I find it really entertaining, especially when it's at this point in the card. Because at this point in the card, it's 100% harmless, and this match wasn't going to get over that much anyway. So they might as well like have fun, and like this is a good way to have fun and not use too much on your bump card. So I enjoyed it. Like, it's just going to be a very much I enjoyed it or I didn't enjoy it match. You're not going to have massively strong feelings either way. But I liked it. I do like that stuff. I mean, like, I do watch PWG where Jushin Thunder Liger suplex several people with his ass. So
that's true. I'm probably talking to the wrong person about this.
I gave it like a high 5, low 6.
No, you're wrong.
I'm not wrong.
Match 3 then.
A
So the Cosmic Angels of Mina Shirakawa, Tam Nakano, and Unagi Sayaka defeat Oida Tai, Natsuko Tora, Rina, and Saki Kashima at 10:58 with the GSS. This was another match that also fell a bit flat and was a bit crap, and not just because it contained a Ueda tie. I'm going to moan here.
Shocker.
It's weird because I'm usually the positive one. I don't get...
we seem to swap.
We do. I don't get Unagi. Like, at all. Not in the same way as I didn't get Mina, as at least Mina had an offense to improve. Unagi just doesn't seem to have anything. Like, nothing of any note whatsoever. Like, we talked about Mina's first matches and we talked about her, you weren't a fan of the pendulum hold. You aren't a fan of the takedown. Neither am I. But you aren't a fan of the...
I'm still not a fan of that fucking box
Exactly. But can you tell me anything at all, move-wise, that you like or dislike from Unagi over the 2 nights?
Hold on. Let me consult my notes.
From what I remember, and from what I've noted down, she has a leg drop, and that is it.
Yeah, she wasn't overly used, was she?
Yeah, but Chris, I'm not being funny. She was in the ring for the majority of both matches. She did and added nothing. And I know that we're 2 matches in, and she's been in 6-man tags both times. And yes, potentially I'm going to have to wait to see her in singles competition before passing final judgment. And I understand that. And, we've seen how quickly Mina Shirakawa turned round. And we noted that, as recently as the last podcast. But I'm so apathetic to what... her first match, you want it to be a showcase to display what she's got. And, again, I know that she'll have 2 years ring experience in January. But she has nothing. Like, there's no flashy move. She wasn't the one who got the win in either match, which was utterly bizarre. She's... There was my dad used to saying there was a saying my dad used to say that she's like a sprig of mint in a vindaloo. She might as well not fucking be there.
Is that how you fucking talk in Stoke?
Yeah. Oh, we're vile in Stoke, mate.
It's better than the saying my dad used to, and still has. He just used to say life shit and then you die. Which I think that explains a lot about me.
I think it boils down to the fact that I'm not a fan of this whole Cosmic Angels thing at the moment. It's, I don't know. I don't like it. I don't.
You know how my brain works weirdly sometimes? As soon as you say Cosmic Angels, I just, in my head, sang Cosmic Angels to Muppet Babies.
Yeah, fair enough.
I don't hate Unagi as much. Like, honestly, the way Shirakawa turned around has just taught me not to judge for Tokyo Joshi imports as harshly.
I don't hate her. I want to make that abundantly clear. I do not hate her. If I hated her, it means that she's done something wrong. I feel really, really apathetic towards her. Because, like, when Mina first debuted, she debuted in a singles match for a start. She hit the implant DDT, which was straight away, okay, that's her move. And the GSS, which she hit, I think, the following night. I've seen nothing of Unagi's offense. I've seen nothing that's made me think, fucking hell, she's got potential. And again, I know we're 2 matches in. I am going to wait. I know it doesn't sound like I'm going to, but I am going to wait for singles competition to judge it properly. To
be fair, I don't think you're that outlined because I'm clicking on... Because when Shirakawa came in, we were surprised by a cage match rating because she had an average of around an 8. I'm clicking on Unagi's now. No one's bothered to rate her, so she can't have done much in Tokyo Joshi. If anyone actually watched, because I know people who listen to us watch Tokyo Joshi, can someone tell us what she was actually like there, so we can have like a baseline of what to expect? Because when we were talking about Shirakawa, we were told about some stuff she did in Tokyo Joshi, and then like, okay, so there's a reason, there's hype behind her. Like, so like, if anyone actually watches Tokyo Joshi, can someone like tell us what she was like there, because she seems to be, because she was in like the Princess Cup, so she must have some moves.
Yeah,
like is my point. So, but like apart from that, this match was fine. Shirakawa's shooting up in terms of quality. Tam's always fun. Rina was the obvious fall person, and I'm happy that Oedatai finally having an obvious fall person, because it means we're getting away from these fucking DQs. Thank good merciful fucking Christ. But yeah, apart from that, this is like a standard 6-man match. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. That back fist still happens. Is she just keeping that to make me hate her? Because I don't want to hate her. Just drop the back fist.
This is the only time when the back fist actually made sense. It was actually a really good transition. Someone was running at Tam. Tam ducked and Mina hit him with the back fist. It's just a shame she doesn't deliver it very well.
No, that's the thing, because it may be because I'm such a big Kenta Kobashi fan who has obviously it's not a back fist. I
genuinely thought then you were going to break out Kenta Miyahara. I was like, I'm readying the alarm.
Jesus Christ, you're gonna eventually just make that a fucking audio asset, aren't you?
I've told you, mate, it's going to be our first shop, our first shirt, our first T-shirt in the shop.
I like that, like, because like this is the first podcast where someone might actually buy a T-shirt.
I doubt it.
And I'm not being.
We're two knobheads on the internet. I doubt it, mate.
Yeah, but like your mum might buy one.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, Mum. Who's Kento Miyahara? Beep, 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 beep.
No, but yeah, but also like I'm a massive fan of Eddie Kingston, who obviously has a good one because he's been doing it for years, and even like Aja Kong, who like obviously that's a shoot. that actually knocks people out. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just because I love the back fist as a move already, and it's like people who really look out for how DDTs are done.
No, I get that.
Quite frankly, so I don't know. Maybe she'll get better, but like I don't know. At this point, I think she'd actually have to shoot, because you know what it is? She doesn't do it fast enough. It's almost like she turns in slow motion.
No, yeah, I know what you mean. It's the sound as well. It's the slap. It's like it wouldn't slap.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. It's like, I can see that you're slapping your leg. Stop it.
Much as we're piling on Mina has improved fantastically.
No, that's the thing. Mina, literally, the back fist is basically my sole problem with Mina Shirakawa at this point.
What did you rate this match, Chris?
5, maybe a 6.
Okay.
I've never heard you sound more deflated.
I think it is because I don't like the team. I don't.
Is it because they're dissing on May? Do you not like it when people diss on May?
I think that's what it is. No, I don't know. I think it was because like I didn't really see it in the previous match because it was a storyline about Mayu and Tam, and that sort of overtook everything, and Unagi was sort of being beaten pillar to post in an overly vicious way. But in this match, I don't know, I see her? That's not a word. I saw her as, I don't know, nothing, really. She was in the ring and nothing happened, and it was all, I don't know, bit by the numbers. Anyway, let's move on to a different match. The match 4, we had the high-speed title match with the champion Azumi defeating Gokuken Death at 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Christ, Chris, this was short.
Well, yeah, most high-speed matches are. It was 1 minute away from being the perfect time.
I've put, this is my initial note, it was a Gokuken Death match wrestled at Azumi's pace.
It was weird, because like, it was literally just the start of every Death tag match, but with a finish.
Well, even Gokuken Death knows that the crowd's a lost cause because she doesn't bother with her shtick at the start.
Yeah, she doesn't near the end just because if she doesn't do it, it feels weird.
I enjoy for the 3 minutes that they are in the ring. I actually quite enjoyed this match. Azumi working the arms until Death starts using that against her and rolling her up, which I thought was great. Closing sequence with all the flash pins was really, really good. I just wish we could have had maybe even just a minute longer.
Well, it was a minute longer before 20.
Well, maybe, I don't know, by cutting or shortening the last match, because that match went 11 minutes, and there's not a chance in hell that needed to go 11 minutes. So maybe just give this another
We're
minute.
gonna have another
No,
round.
no, I'm done now. I don't know. I enjoyed this match. Considering it's a Gokikin death match, there's very little you can expect.
Former high-speed champion.
Yeah, I know.
She's former high-speed champion. No the shit. She beat Hazuki, who has a very long range. She was like 208 days. And not the... Mary Apache is the... that's weird. I didn't expect Mary Apache to be the... how random... I guess not random. She's an imp. Oh, well. I'm going... Yeah, this is fine. But I don't really have anything to sink my teeth into with this one because it's very brief. I'm trying to think of a metaphor. It is the Tummock's tea cake of wrestling.
What?
It doesn't last long, but you enjoy it while it's on, but you don't really think about it after it's finished.
It's the what?
The Tummock's tea cake of wrestling.
The fuck is a Tummock's tea cake?
You don't know what Tummock's tea cake is?
I think I speak for the masses when I say no.
A tea cake? You don't know what a tea cake is? Like the chocolate with like cream in the middle and it's like a biscuit at the bottom.
That's not a tea cake.
It's a Tummock's tea cake.
A tea cake's like a floury sort of cake thing with raisins in it.
You've never seen a Tummock's tea cake?
Oh, Tummock's tea cake.
Oh, was I saying I'm stupid? Yeah, Tummock's tea cake.
No, I haven't heard of them either.
What? Oh, you son of a... Right. You southern piece of shit. I'm going to bring this up with Garth later, and he's going to be, Tummock's tea cake. Everyone knows what a Tummock's tea cake is.
Yeah, well, Garth's Geordie eats well weird shit.
It's nice, though. Okay, I put a link to what a Tummock's tea cake is
into the chat. Okay,
into the Discord. Have a quick look. But yeah, this match. While he looks up what a Tummock's tea cake is, this match was good, and I liked it, but again, I have absolutely no massive thoughts on it. It was just the beginning of every Death Tag League match, but in a singles match. So it was fun. I'd give it I don't think it's possible to rate this one, quite frankly.
I give it a 5. I say it was average. I enjoyed it. Oh, this is what tea cake. Oh, that's not what we call these down here.
What do you call them down there?
I don't know, but we don't call them Tonix tea cakes.
Then how do you ask for one?
Just give me one of those chocolate marshmallow things.
I hate myself.
Yeah, I gave it 5. Let's move on. Match 5 then saw Momo Watanabe defeat Himeka at the 11 minutes and 1 second with the Peach Sunrise. Chris, what did you think of this match?
Fine. It was fine. Nothing to overly write home about. This is like the median of Himeka's 5-star, but against Momo. Momo's fire was good because that's always great. She wasn't hitting as hard, weirdly. I expected her to hit like really hard to compensate for how fucking huge Himeka is, but she didn't. It was kind of just. It almost felt like a house show match in that respect. Like, the one good thing I'm really pulling from this match was the protection of the Peach Sunrise has meant that Momo hitting Himeka with the Peach Sunrise while still establishing the hierarchy within Stardom doesn't make Himeka look bad because she had to pull out the Peach Sunrise. So
absolutely, and we rave all the time about their use of secondary finishes, and that's helped with the elevation of the Peach Sunrise. Going back to what you said about the strikes, I enjoyed the fact that Himeka was playing on Momo's hot-headedness. She targeted the back initially with some backbreakers, some Boston Crabs, both in an attempt to weaken her for the backbreaker, and that knowing that she can goad Momo into striking, which will hurt her back even more. And that's why I think we weren't seeing the strong strikes we're used to from Momo, because of that initial working of the back by Himeka. There was a brilliant moment, and it was moment of the match for me, where Momo, we talked about the reversal of the Kitchen Bomb into a B driver on the previous podcast. Wasn't quite as good, but it was still very, very smooth, where Himeka goes for the running power bomb and Momo reverses it into the B driver, and it's stupendous. Looked really, really good, really seamless again. Himeka keeps getting better and better, isn't hurt by the loss. Momo finally gets a high-profile singles win for the first time in what seems like fucking ages. So that'll be building to something we're going to talk about at the end of the podcast. It was a good match. It wasn't great. And I do agree with you. It sort of was there. And I think that's an issue for me with this show. And we'll go into that once we sort of talk about our final thoughts about the show. But that's an issue I have with the undercard of this show as a whole. And that actually includes the next match. Chris, what did you give this?
I'm feeling a high 6.
Yeah, I gave it 6, so that works for me. Right, match 6 then was for the SWA Undisputed World Women's title match. Syuri defeating Bea Priestley, the champion, at 11:31 with the Blue Dragon. And it turns out, Chris, you can get round all of the booking issues we were talking about in the last podcast by just up and changing the rules.
Okay. She didn't quite change the rules. She says, I'm part Filipina, so I'm going to wrestle under that thing. People do it in football all the time. No one bitches
She used
that.
the phrase, I'm going to change the rules. That was the phrase she used.
Okay, yeah, but that doesn't sound as good as I'm going to go under this heritage.
So,
she just wanted to sound cool, Rob. She's
do you
edgy.
not think that this is going to be a regular thing now, where it's just another belt in Stardom?
I think she's using a technicality to also put it against Japanese natives because there's literally one gaijin in the whole promotion right now. And then it would just revert back as soon as he goes into another gaijin. So.
Yeah, I agree. Just, I don't know. It certainly gets rid of a lot of the awkwardness of, shit, I've run out of challenges now, which we were talking about before. So, I don't know, maybe they should get rid of the rule full stop, because you're only going to have this issue once someone else gets that, because you've only got a certain amount of gaijin of people of non-Japanese denomination that are going to be able to challenge for the belt. So, it does hamstring you slightly in a booking sense, this title, anyway. I didn't feel this match at all, Chris. Honestly, no.
It was fine.
It was... Go on.
They kind of just went through the motions. I felt there was no real through line. They kind of just did moves until the end. Shuri looked good, and as she always does. Every time I see Shuri, I just think of Ring of Honor Bryan Danielson's chant, which is "You're gonna get your fucking head kicked in," which I like. I wish if I ever see Shuri live, I'm gonna try and get a chant of that going. But actually, no, because I'll be in Japan and they just look at me like I'm a twat. But yeah, it was fine. B's very hit and miss, as we've discussed before, and this is a bit of a miss. I don't know, they didn't seem to gel. They never quite got into that rhythm.
A bit of a miss, mate. They weren't even in the same fucking arena. Honestly, I don't know what it was.
They somehow ended up in Wembley.
I don't know whether it was the fact that Syuri got absolutely no offense in at all until she submitted B at the end. The fact that B seemed like she was stuck on half speed. The fact that there was no discernible chemistry between the two. Maybe it was the lack of crowd, but there was no heat. There was no fire. B targeted the leg briefly and then completely forgot all about it. It was just a really drab match that plodded with, like you say, no sense of through line, no sense of story, no sense of urgency. It was really dull. And I mean, I said, I think 2 or 3 podcasts ago that Syuri could have a 7-star match with a broom. Well, it turns out Bea Priestley is that broom that she can't have a 7-star match with. Because this was dull. Like really, really dull.
Yeah, Bea Priestley isn't so much a Nimbus 2000 as she is one of the brooms you get handed out to the poor students at Hogwarts.
I don't have an issue with Bea in ring. I mean, I've never had an issue with Bea in ring, and I'm not putting all of the blame solely at Bea's door, but you have done all of this work on building Syuri as this basically one-woman wrecking machine, and Bea was on top for 90% of this match. And it was a complete flip, a complete reversal of everything that we've seen of this feud. Syuri beating the shit out of Bea Priestley during the contract signing. Bea Priestley running away from Syuri because she was scared of her during the Artist of Stardom challenge a couple of weeks ago. There was no sense of fear here. Nothing at all. It was basically B. Oh shit, she submitted. And I don't know. It was a really, really... Like, it went 11 minutes and 31 seconds, and I genuinely thought it had been longer. I genuinely thought it had been like about 15 minutes. Really didn't enjoy this one. Really struggled to get into this one. And it's a shame. And I do think this one possibly suffered because of a lack of crowd, but I think the lack of through line, like you mentioned, really just took me out of it. Moves for moves' sake.
Yeah, it was fine. It was. I don't have any major issues with it, but I wasn't jumping head over heels for it or anything.
No, I gave it 4, mate. I couldn't give it any more because
I'm feeling a 5. I just feel nothing for this.
I think I'm disappointed. I'm really disappointed. And I think, both women just seem to be going at half speed. And B's offense, and this was something that was leveled at Konami in the next match, and I disagree. I think B's offense here was dull, boring, dragged out, and was really slow, whereas Konami's in the next match, which we're going to go into in a moment, was targeted. It was relentless. So, yeah, let's go into that match now, because I know it's one that we disagree on. So, match 7, Wonder of Stardom title match with Julia defeating Konami at 20 minutes and 43 seconds with the glorious Driver 3. I'll throw to you in a second, Chris. I am just going to preface this by saying this is the one match that was impacted by the crowd the most.
Yeah. It definitely was, yeah.
Like, they might as well have not been there for this match. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to accept Julia wasn't enough of a babyface in this match. Disagree entirely. There was enough there. There was that opening with Konami savagely attacking Julia's arm was brutal. Absolutely brutal. You got the chair. You got that moment where Julia has got a hand on the canvas, and it's a move that Shayna Baszler sort of does, where the elbows up in the air, the hands on the mat, and Shayna Baszler stamps on the shoulder. Here, literally, Konami just took a run up and punted the arm out from underneath Julia. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Rammed it into the chair, stamped on the chair. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And once you've delivered all this in a very small amount of time, in a very short amount of time, and you get nothing from the crowd, it does take you out of it.
Yeah, what also sort of took me out of it was, but she just stopped selling the arm, and the arm is the easiest thing to sell, right? Like, look at Go versus Nakajima from yesterday. And Ko Shiozaki had a perfect selling of the arm there. Like, because when your arm hurts, you can still, unless it's like dislocated or broken, you can still use it. But like, it's going to hurt when you use it. So you just need to get that across when you start hitting people. And Julia was doing really good at that for the first half of this match. And then she dropped it. It's the Kenta Miyahara problem. Like, he does that. I'm fucking criticizing him. Because I was going to say, he did the same. I'm not even praising him. I'm not going to praise him once throughout this whole bit, because he did the same thing in this match with. He did the same thing in his match with Yuma Aoyagi back in February, where he just dropped the arm selling so he could hit the shutdown suplex. And Julia kind of just did it here because all her offense is arm based. But you just need to sell that the arm hurts, because when your arm hurt, because have you ever really hurt your arm?
It twice.
Okay, well, but depending, as long as it's not like your shoulder or your elbow, you still have most of your mobility. So, like, since it was the wrist, Julia just needed to get across that she was hurt when she threw a strike or did a big maneuver, which she didn't after a while, and just it dragged down the match for me, along with the fact that the crowd, like, literally, I think we could have resurrected Michael Jackson and John Lennon in the middle of the ring, and then we had put on a 5-star classic with I don't know, the Bee Gees, and the crowd wouldn't have reacted. And even then, you'd just be cheering out of sheer bemusement.
I agree to a certain extent regarding Julia's selling. I do agree that it got less and less as the match went on. I think she didn't discard it entirely. I think quite the opposite. She's cradling her arm during the pinfalls. She sold the arm during the striking exchange. You can put that down to adrenaline, okay? Because eventually she just couldn't throw it anymore. She was sort of throwing it with her elbow instead of a forearm, letting a forearm dangle, which, again, was fine. I do agree she needed to sell it a little bit more, and I do agree with the criticism that for all of the work Konami put in on the arm at the start of the match, there was never a real moment you thought that Julia was going to lose. I don't know what it was, but it seemed that Julia was always, despite being in clear agony and that fire opening with, just, it got a little bit uncomfortable to watch at times, which was great. That's exactly what Konami should do. But for all that work, Konami never really seemed to take charge of that. There was no pinfall attempts or anything like that. As for Julia's selling, she did try and hit the Julia driver, the Glorious Driver, but couldn't do it because of the arm. She kept losing out on submission, sort of doing submissions with Konami and sort of dueling submissions, and Konami would always come out on top because Julia couldn't do the arm. And I'm not saying it's perfect selling. It wasn't perfect selling. It was inconsistent. But I don't think it was bad. I think the fact that she had to amend the Glorious Driver to finally put Konami away was a good little story point, because we've now got 3 variations of the Julia Driver, because that's the Glorious Driver, because that's what we need.
It didn't ruin the match. Again, like with the Miyahara match from earlier, it didn't ruin it. I swear to God, if you beep or walk to snow and stab Snow. And this is how mad I am. I'll stab you with a fucking screwdriver. But, you son of a bitch. But it didn't ruin the match. It still wasn't, like, in terms of like her white belt defenses, with the exception of Himiko, this is probably the weakest one.
See, I disagree. I actually really like this match.
More than the Tam match?
No, not more than the Tam match.
Yeah, the Tam match was incredible.
We did give that 10, to be fair.
Did we? I remember giving it a 9.
I'm sure we gave it a high 9 or a 10. I can't remember off the top of my head, but this, I'd give it a high 8.
Yeah, I'd give this like a mid-low 8, but yeah, I'd also give it an 8.
I think we do just need to talk for a moment about that fucking headbutt.
Okay, here's the thing. I've been diluted on headbutts for 2 reasons. One, I've been watching 1997, where they do not care about concussions and throwing tables at each other's head. And also, there was a DDT match between Eruption and Disaster Box. Was that it? I'm bad with DDT team names. And there was a headbutt there you could literally hear. Like, you could hear when it went off it. It was disgusting.
It was just so unexpected.
I know.
Just, I've never seen her hit, and it was just, it sort of didn't help that the crowd was so fucking quiet. It just echoed around the arena. It was horrendous.
Yeah, I thought it was a bad headbutt.
It was, yeah.
To be fair, Julia's no stranger to headbutts through fact. She was doing them in the Hana match.
Yeah, but not like that.
Last year. No, they were more like several small ones instead of one like big Glasgow
she basically took a fucking run up at Konami here.
It was like fucking Ilya Dragunov's finisher, which is like for running. Yeah, have you ever played Super Smash Bros? It's like Luigi's headbutt.
I don't like it. I don't want to see it again, I'll be honest. And I think it is because of what happened to Shibata.
Yeah, I think just as New Japan fans, we never want to see a headbutt again.
No, never again. Never, ever, ever again. Let's move on then. Main event time. World of Stardom title match with Utami Hayashishita defeating Mayu Iwatani, the champion, at 24 minutes and 44 seconds with the Crucifix Bomb, ending Mayu's run at 377 days, the fourth longest reign with the belt. Chris, what did you think?
This is really good. In terms of, it's weird, because I was thinking about, I was actually had a conversation about this with Nagu Driver on our Discord last night in the Noah section, which is basically just turned into, we're going to start talking about Noah, and then we're just going to spin off and complain about Okada. But we were talking about how, I was talking about how my preference for title reigns, I'd rather have a more inconsistent title reign that felt different each match. And I was framing this in terms of Goji Izaki's title reign, because you look at like an Okada title reign or even like a Miyahara title reign, it's just, but it's so hard for me to make points when you beep every time I mention one of the most prolific characters in all of Japanese wrestling. It's not like I'm being fucking smarky on our fucking little Joshi podcast mentioning one of the ace of all Japan. I'm just trying to draw a comparison. Let me live my life. Right. Where was I? What was I talking? Oh yeah. So I framed this in terms of Goji Izaki's title reign because all those matches felt really different, but also they're really hit and miss, especially like the Vegeta and Saito match, which neither of those matches anyone feels neutral about, but either love them or hate them. Whereas with Mayo's title reign, we've had a reign where everything has felt different. But also, it's with the exception of the Saki match, every single defense has been worth going out your way to see.
She's had an absolutely stellar year, and if she doesn't win the Stardom Cast Wrestler of the Year at the end of the year awards, I don't know who could possibly
go behind her for Wrestler of the Year.
I don't know who else could beat her, because here she was on fire. I compared this to the Syuri match, and they were two completely different matches, because in the Syuri match, Syuri beat the piss out of Mayu for the entirety of the match, to the point where Mayu was one strike away from being knocked unconscious. Here, Mayu dominated to start off with, being the arrogant prick, even brought in more of a submission game, which I'm all here for, targeting the arm of Utami, trying to take out the crucifix bomb, the massive clotheslines, the big bombs that Utami throws. And then you've got Utami, who, you pretty much can only do this with Mayu, targeted the neck solely, which, as we know, is Mayu's strong point. So was potentially not the wisest of tactics, but even so, was relentless. To that bit where she had her laid out on the apron and was just running up and punting Mayu in the neck was great, but so uncomfortable. The air raid crash on the apron. Ugh. I mean,
to be fair, that was a receipt for a tombstone on the apron.
That tombstone was absolutely incredible. It was so well done. I mean, again, Utami sold that so well, just flopped to the ground. It was great. I loved everything about this match. I thought both women had tremendous chemistry. I thought Utami came out of this, not only as champion, but looking fantastic. I thought Mayu's desperation towards the end when she realised the match was getting away from her was brilliant. The really messy roll-up she was doing as desperation at the end, amazing. Utami getting stronger and stronger. The sort of excitement at how close she was getting. She was pushing the referee out of the way. She was being far rougher with Mayu, because to start with, you could see, and I'm sure this was storyline, you could see how focused yet how nervous Utami was going into this match, and how
it was it was sort of a similar energy that she had in the Arisa match earlier in the year.
Like, I'm in a singles title match, but now it's the main event of the huge show for the biggest title in Stardom, and you could see Mayu. She's got this snide sort of smile on her face as she goes for the first handshake, which Utami ignores. Goes for the second handshake, still that real sneer on her face. She's giving a kick, giving a little receipts throughout the match. And obviously that changes as Utami gets more and more into the match, as she grows into the match. And towards the end, Mayu is taking absolutely obscene bumps. That final crucifix bomb that Utami throws, I'm surprised Mayu didn't bounce off the canvas and over the top rope. It was ridiculous, the elevation that Utami garnered. I really, really enjoyed this match. And do I think Utami is the right person to take it off Mayu? Sure. Why not? You're never going to know unless you try it. And we're going to talk in a little bit, Chris, about where we think this reign is going to go. But overall, it was a completely different match to the Shiori match. It was completely different to the Takumi Iroha match. It was its own match, which proves your point. Mayu can have these different matches where she is on top, she is desperate, or she is fighting from underneath, or, being that desperate babyface champion. I thought this was fantastic. Did I prefer it to the Shiori match? I don't know. And I think one thing, and I know I'm a record stuck on repeat, one thing that Shiori match had that this match didn't have was a hot crowd. With a hot crowd, this is your match of the year, without a shadow of a doubt. Those moments that there was a close pinfall where I think Mayu would roll Utami up after a poison Rana, and Utami kicked out barely at 3. It was the closest 3 counts as the G1 final. And there was nothing from the crowd. You have that Yokohama crowd there, they pop. They go mental. They see that pile driver on the apron, mental. Their air raid crash on the apron, they're clapping, they're cheering as much as they can do in the mask. And I think I don't think it hurt this match anywhere near as much as it hurt the semi-main between Julia and Konami. But I certainly think it didn't help this match. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I do mostly agree with you. In terms of it not feeling like other matches, I kind of disagree. I think this is sort of there's a bunch of other Mayu matches thrown in here. You sort of have in terms of pure tone, this felt a lot like the Momo match. In terms of just your standard standard back and forth bomb fest that you get for Stardom main events. In terms of dynamic, it was a lot like the Iroha match or the Jungle match where Mayu's trying to take down a much bigger opponent. In terms of the cockiness, it felt a lot like Mayu in the 5-star or tag league. And by the way, the cockiness thing is something I love. The Darby Allin versus Cody match had it all out, and it was great there. And the match where Swama won the Triple Crown, it was there too, and it was great there as well. So, yeah, just a lot of Mayu's best qualities, along with some of my favorite things in wrestling, to thrown into this match, which gotta love. And also Utami, she's great. It's a much different dynamic than we're used to. With we haven't sort of had the big bruiser as champion for a while. You look back at the last few champions. 1 second, I'll get to help. You have Mayu, who's obviously not a big bruiser. B Priestley, who is sort of kind of nothing. The last big bruiser looking back over the history of his title would be Alpha Female back in 2013. Everyone else sort of isn't that bruiser type. Kagetsu's a bruiser, but she's in a much different way from Utami. Kagetsu feels more like a final boss, whereas Utami feels like something you'd come across in fucking Dark Souls at points. So yeah, so it's something different for the title, and like you said, we don't know what it's going to be like until we try it. We're going to get onto our wants when we get to the questions bit, but yeah, just in terms of is this the right time for Mel to drop it? Definitely, because she's ran through basically every other contender, and once you got past May, you're going to start getting Himika, sure, but also she's definitely not ready for a World of Stardom title match. You get a B rematch maybe, but I don't want Mayu to die.
Konami,
Julia. Yeah, well, Konami was the last one. Julia, I don't think she was quite ready for the double championship thing to happen again, because we just got out of the point, only a few months ago, we got out of the point of Julia being overpushed, where she's now at the right level. We need to back away from that for a while. We need to keep her steady. So like, sure, I'd love a Momo rematch. Sure, I'd love a Shiri rematch. But when you get to the point of repeating, like for example, with Tanahashi's big title reign, there were points where he was taking on Toriyano and Tokyo Pimp, and you don't want that. And like Okada's title reign, it started to get to the point where things felt like full of defenses, and you haven't had that with Mayo, none, with the exception of the Saki match. All of them felt like they could do it on some level, whereas with Okada, like Zack Sabre Jr. was never going to win the title, so they took the belt off her before they got to that point, and it's an impressive reign to begin with. Like a year-long reign is nothing to sniff at. Like we're used to long title reigns in Japanese wrestling right now. Like Okada had that 2-year reign and then had another 9-month reign not long afterwards. Well, I'm trying to think of one that you're not going to fucking beep at. Go's title reign, Kaito's title reign. Just we're used to longer title reigns now. So, but like, well, they're mighty impressive. As mentioned, they get to the point where May would have to start defending against Mina Shirakawa.
Yeah.
So like, they took it off her right, like just before she got to the point where we were like, okay, move on with this Mayo title reign. It's like the perfect length for how the roster is right now.
Going back to what you said, the final bit about the match, you say about how it's not the most different match because it had elements of every other match, but I think that in itself makes it different. It's not like any other match in its entirety. It takes little bits. It takes the best bits of Mayu's other defenses, which is great, and that's what makes this match unique.
It's a perfect way to end a long title.
I agree.
Because you just you end up just seeing Utami, who like in kayfabe you can spin it to go, well, she's seen all these time matches, so she's taken what has and hasn't worked and implemented it into her game plan.
What would you give this match?
9. I'm feeling 9. I don't think it's perfect, and it may just be the crowd. We've talked, like several people have mentioned in the Discord, that COVID era matches do have a ceiling, and I've tried to rate through that ceiling. But like the fact, like as you said, at Tombstone, people should be like shouting. People like the ace is wounded. People should be wanting Utami's blood, and they're just there going, yeah. Like I've seen more reaction from Garth when we tried to talk to him about Stardom.
It's touching a 10 for me. I really enjoyed this match. Really, really enjoyed this match.
It's closer to a 10 than it isn't. It's definitely like top 10 start. And again, I say that with every fucking Mayo defense, and after a while, just the whole top 10 is going to be May.
It's top 3. It's top 3 Stardom matches of the year for me.
Is it? I'm trying to think what my top 3 are, especially going into the awards, because, you know, I will be voting.
Obviously.
You should vote too. Plug. Imagine if I didn't vote. It'd be like that episode of Simpsons. Like, I wanted to recount. Okay, 1 for Mayu versus Momo, 2 for Mayu versus Momo. Nah, I don't think it's top 3. For me, top 3 would probably be the first Iroha match, the tag match from 9th anniversary Osaka with Kagetsu's retirement match, and you know what? Possibly controversial, but I think maybe Utami versus Arisa. Because we still differ on that quite a lot.
There's 3 that are very... The 3 Mayu defenses, Iroha, the second match, Shiori, and Utami are all up there. All 3 of those defenses are up there, and they're all very, very, very good. And that's not taking into account Momo one earlier in the year.
Oh, the jungle one.
Or the jungle one, which everyone forgets.
Yeah, and it's bad because it is one of the better defenses of the
Absolutely. Anyway, post-match, Utami takes the microphone, says who will be her first challenger. She's met with Julia and Shiori. Basically, it all boils down to Momo. Momo comes out, and that is made official. Just quickly, I'm not sure how much I appreciated the comedy that Julia and Shiori were trying to put over Momo here. It seemed very forced and a bit clunky.
Yeah, this felt like pre 5-star Julia in terms of
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't
game.
help that the crowd was dead, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I didn't like this. It doesn't exactly put over the challenger to the red belt that you're basically calling her out for being shit and not winning anything.
I mean, like, if you wanted to have an obstacle for Momo out there when she's out there to challenge, just have be out there saying she sucks.
And then just have Momo hit her with a peach sunrise. That'd be lovely. So yeah, Momo versus Utami has been made official for Osaka, the 20th of December. So overall, Chris, before we go into a couple of questions and then wrap up the podcast, if you had to rate this show on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate it? And were you impressed or were you disappointed with the general output of Sendai Cinderella?
If I see Sendai Cinderella as a Korakuen show, it was fine. And in terms of like a Korakuen show, I'm sort of seeing it as the February one with the Iroha match, which is like a fine undercard, which didn't blow me away with a great main event. So like it was a good show. I enjoyed it. Like it's on the long side, like over 2.5 hours, which is on the long side for Stardom shows, and it kind of just flew by. Like I didn't at any point feel burned out on the show, which again, when a show's going quite long, for what it is a good thing. The only point I felt actively annoyed was because none of it, like I know some of it's actually annoyed you on here. Nothing on the show actually annoyed me apart from that ending promo because it just seemed pointless. But yeah, this was just a solid night of wrestling, which you should watch it. You should watch the Noah match from yesterday first, but also watch this.
I think if we're going to compare it to Yokohama Cinderella, it doesn't touch that show.
Oh no, not at all. Not in any way.
But otherwise, it was sort. I think the undercard underwhelmed, and I think that was hugely to do with the crowd. The lack of crowd interaction really, really, really hurt this show. I think the attendance really, really hurt this show. I think 500 people 508 people in this arena isn't what they were expecting, and I think that the fact that they were dead silent for the entire fucking thing really didn't help either. The two matches at the top of the card, I think, delivered, especially Utami versus Mayu, which again I think's a candidate for match of the year. I would give it, purely on the strength of the final two matches, I'd give it a 7, because I think the undercard for me, and I think I made this abundantly clear, I was not impressed with the undercard. Let's move on then. We've got some questions. So, Chris, this is from Niagara Driver on the Discord. What do you want to see out of Utami's first red belt reign? Length, opponents, anything else, etc. And then, I suppose, who do you see her dropping it to?
This is going to sound weird, but I kind of want something similar to B. Priestley's reign, because what she does, she kept fighting people from Queen's Quest on some level because you can choose your challenger and you want to prove yourself. Utami going up against a bunch of the Queen's Quest people, I think would be great for her first few defenses, and then start branching out. Like I want to see her go up against like a trilogy of like Saya, Momo, and
Hina,
Azumi. Because I think that'll be a nice little road, and then I don't want it to last. I want it to be like mid-length, like maybe like 6 months. I don't think Utami's like between 4 and 6 months with a couple of defenses. I think is perfect for Utami's first reign. I'm not sure I want it to be like overly long, but I might change my mind as I go along because, like you look at May tag team off night, May is very, very different. Like where she's either really annoyed at Tam or just high, apparently, is completely different from title match May. So I'm very interested to see that dichotomy because we've only seen Utami in a couple of high-end title matches, it's basically this match and Eureka match. So I'm interested to see like what style she brings to the belt, because again, she's very different kind of champion than we had in a very long time, and especially since I started watching. Because basically, since I started watching, we've had B and then May. So yeah, in terms of what I want to see, once again, the Queen's Quest run, and then who I'd wanted to lose it to. Honestly, someone from DDM. I think of the people on the card, I think DDM and Queen's Quest have the best chemistry. So I think someone from that would probably be my want to win. Maybe Julia once she loses the belt, but also I wouldn't hate if Shuri won it. Or maybe Natsupoi, so I can keep making those greatest showing references. No, not Natsupoi.
Looking at the reigns of the champions, the last time we had a really, really short reign was actually Mayu's first reign. That was back in 2017 and 95 days. And before that, it was back in 2013, which was Alpha Female at 43 days. Would we be completely out of our minds for thinking maybe she drops it on the 20th to Momo?
I think that would definitely be a shock, and since it hasn't happened before, maybe. But like, if you were gonna have a drop to Momo, I don't know why you wouldn't just have May drop it to Momo. Maybe if you really want to hammer in the hierarchy of Queen's Quest and start a dissension there, maybe. But you already have a dissension angle going on with Stars, so like two going on at the same time might be a bit much. But maybe that will facilitates a draft. I don't think it's out of the question. I just don't think I think it would be a weird roundabout way to get the belt on Momo if you're going to do that. I just have her beat May.
I agree with you. I say that she has it for maybe 3 months, drops it at the anniversary show. I think you've got the opportunity to have a defense against Momo, maybe a defense against maybe Tam. Someone who hasn't challenged Mayu. So,
no, that's thing.
You're looking at Julia, Tam, Konami, all of Queen's Quest, apart from Momo, all haven't challenged Mayu. So, give them the opportunity to challenge Utami.
Maybe Tora, because she hasn't had a chance, despite being the head of Oedatai. And also, she seems to be dropping the chain thing. Finally, and also we saw in the 5-star that Tora and Utami do have chemistry.
They do. You talk about honestly, Stardom wanting to sell out big buildings, or to at least draw in a crowd. Mayu versus Utami drew 508 people to Sendai. Do you think Utami versus Tora on top is going to sell? Is that your big match?
You can just throw that on. You can have red. We're still having red belt match and some Korakuens. Have that be one of the Korakuen defenses.
Can't wait to review that. So,
well, if Jungle was about, I'd say Utami would be a good person to drop the belt to Jungle, because Utami and her have like a big rivalry.
I can't see Jungle being back next year. I can't see it being back.
No, that's the thing. No, that's the thing. I can't see it being. If Jungle was about, that's what I'd be saying. But like without that, it's sort of money's for water. We don't know, because I've been saying this a lot in the build up to this, as like to sort of trying to put over Utami could win the belt. Stardom aren't as rigid as we're used to with the red belt. Like again, B Priestley got a shock reign, so like at that point anything's possible.
True.
So like. We don't know, because, like, again, in terms of like the type of competitor, in terms of recent Stardom history, we're in somewhat uncharted waters here. So, it's weird, because, like, it's a similar vibe for me, like, this is probably going to sound like I'm being mean, but I'll explain myself. You know when Eva won the championship and we were like, oh shit, what happens now? That's kind of where I am, except I don't have, like, an innately negative feeling to it because I like Utami. Like, this doesn't feel rushed. Like, and it, like as you said before, it feels like a decent combination to Mayo's reign, and especially given how Stardom. But I don't know. Like, in terms of what I want to see, I've laid that out. But in terms of what I think we'll see, I literally don't know. Stardom surprised me over time with that shit. Like, if you'd have told me at the beginning of the year that Julia would be one of my favorite people on the roster, I would not have fucking believed you.
I would be very, very surprised if we don't see Julia as champion come the anniversary tour.
So you think she's going to be a champion come next year?
Oh, she'll definitely have the red belt next year. Definitely. Yeah.
You think?
Yes, I do. I think she will drop the white belt. I think she'll drop the white belt at the next defense. Well, that does depend who it is, obviously. But I think she'll drop the white belt because, like you said, I don't think they'll do the double champion thing with Julia, at least not yet. You know, they've just got her over. I don't think they're going to risk then pushing her far, far too much by putting both belts on her. I think you see Utami run through Momo. I think you see Utami run through potentially one more challenger, like I said, maybe a Tam. And then I think she drops it to Julia, who hasn't had a red belt match before. They're clearly very high on her, and is that the match that could sell out your anniversary game? I mean, again, you're looking at January 19th, so it's probably going to be...
They're definitely going to throw... Like, you have to understand, like, it's not just this having, like, the main... Because in terms of the main event, they said a better main event. In terms of, like, drawing, I think part of it is, like, the undercard of this wasn't as strong as the undercard for Yokohama. So we're going to throw, like, loads at the Budokan show, and isn't... Like, say, Kairi Sane's left WWE now, hasn't she? So she's not out of the question.
She works for the WWE.
Like, not to, like... well, it's still, like, a possible... Like, I don't want to throw out wild accusations, but I think we're going to get more than just the normal sort of 20 or so people we see on every Stardom show. I think we're going to bring in some special guests for that one. So it's not just going to be it's, like, selling out that is just going to be in the back of a title match.
Interesting.
Like when Noah ran the Tokyo Dome, they had Rikio as champion, and like he fucking sucked. So, like again, the title match isn't going to be the only thing we have to worry about going into Budokan. So, honestly, I don't think the World Championship match going into Budokan is the biggest question mark. I think it's more what other shit are they going to bring in to draw people in? Because like if they bring in people from like other promotions. I was going to say Roja, but she's injured, and she apparently her leg exploded or something. But you bring in like Aja Kong, or she's really the only Joshi legend going right now, isn't she? So bring in Aja Kong.
There you go. Chris thinks that the main event of Budokan is going to be Utami versus Aja Kong. You heard it here first. Exclusive. Stardom Cast exclusive.
I think Aja Kong would be in a tag match with Goku and Death.
Final question then, before we wrap up, and this goes off what we were talking about before, so just want to get a clear answer on that question. Do you think we are going to have Stars split up into two different factions, or do you think it's just building towards a draft?
I think it'll be two different factions for a while. If they are going to split up, it might just end up being... They might just want a storyline for Mayu while she's away from the red belt. So honestly, it might just be like it was with Arisa and Tam last year, where it's just a little infighting and then they just forgive each other.
What do you see next for Mayu?
Like,
aside from
Mayu,
aside from this feud,
you definitely need to keep her away from the red belt thing for a while, because otherwise you have like the Okada problem, the fuck's sake. Talk about it. I'm drawing parallel so hard now because it's a fucking alarm.
No, I know what you mean.
Like,
I know what you mean. So,
like, because but also I'm trying to think what programs you could put her in, because she could put a few people over now. Like, she could like put Momo over. She could put, like, honestly, if she loses a couple matches, she's not going to be hurt at all. So maybe putting a, like, because the most immediate feud seems to be Tam, but like if you want that to bubble under for a while, there's plenty of options on the roster. There's plenty of people floating about with no real, with no real story, and also Stardom aren't beyond putting belts on people that may seem above the belt. So like her going for, say, the tag belts or the SWA belts, isn't completely out of the question. So,
this is what I would like to see. What about her and Starlight Kid with the tag straps?
I'd be into that. It'd be something different for me. It would help elevate Starlight Kid for a while. It would bring a lot more focus onto tag belts, and also it means Mayu can have that in the back pocket, because since Utami's becoming tag champ, she can go, beat you for those belts. I'll get that belt off you again, and it gives her a bit more to go off. So yeah, I actually think that's a great idea.
That's where I think next, because again, I'd love to see Starlight Kid highlighted more next year, because I think the progress she's made this year is second only to Saya Kamitani, and I've been hugely impressed with Starlight Kid, and I'd like now for us to see that next jump. You know, not the high-speed division. We've seen that, okay? She can continue to fight in that division. That is absolutely fine. But as a tag champ with Mayu, we see far more of her offense. You know, it's not just about the speed. It's about storytelling. It's about, you know, that through line in a match. So yeah, that's where I think Mayu is going next. Anyway, I think that about does us for today. So thank you so much for listening, guys. We really do appreciate it. Please go and check us out wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, all that jazz. Go leave us a 5-star review or comment. It really does help us. It helps us push us up the rankings and helps us to be shared with more fans just like you. Go and check out the website, www.podmania.co.uk, where you can check out all the archived episodes of the Stardom Cast. Check us out on Twitter at the Stardom Cast. Join the Discord, which is pinned to the top of our Twitter page. You can talk to me on Twitter at RealRobGoodwin. Chris, where can they find you?
We're in phase 2 now, so probably in the pub.
And we'll talk to you guys again. We'll be back in early December to talk about the Mutsu tournament. Until then, we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.